This table is for close family, my cousin Yvonne said, shoving me aside. I lost my patience. Then let your real family pay the 2,185.50. I stood up and left them to deal with the consequences of their actions. I always had the feeling that my relatives never saw any real value in me. During childhood, I was the weird one, the quiet kid who didn't fit in with their ways. While my cousins boasted about wild weekends and expensive clothes, I was the one stuck between books, always learning, working, and planning my escape. I was never interested in impressing anyone, especially those selfish, self-absorbed relatives. But life took an unexpected turn, and I ended up succeeding. I worked my butt off, forged my own path, and earned more money than any of them. Not that they'd admit it, of course. They acted like they didn't care until there was something they could get out of me, which brings us to tonight. I had no intention of seeing them again. I'd been avoiding those reunions for years. They always seemed fake, full of forced laughter, cold stares, and reminders that no matter what I did, I'd always be that nobody. But my mother, Isabel, God bless her, begged me. Just come to one dinner, Alejandro. It's been years. I caved, and regret hit me the second I stepped foot in that fancy steakhouse. The whole family was already there, seated around a long, elegant table, laughing uproariously like a scene from a TV show. My cousin Yvonne, my worst abuser as a child, was sitting in the center, grinning like he owned the place. When his eyes found me, his smile widened. Look who showed up, Yvonne said, leaning back in his chair, his booming voice drawing everyone's attention. Didn't think you still remembered us, big shot. I faked a small smile and tried to sit at the end of the table. Yvonne raised an eyebrow. No, Alejandro, that seat's taken. I looked around. The only free seats were near Yvonne or his equally arrogant sister, Claudia. I tried to take another chair, but Claudia rolled her eyes. That one's taken, too. I blinked. Are you kidding me? No, Yvonne chuckled, leaning forward. This table is for close family, Alejandro. Find a seat elsewhere. Some laughed. Not everyone, but enough to make my jaw clench. My mother looked nervous, but, as always, said nothing. My Aunt Maria smirked. My Uncle Fernando shook his head like I was some strange problem. And Yvonne looked smug. I could have left. Probably should have. But instead, I smiled calmly. Elsewhere, huh? I replied. Fine. I'll stay. I grabbed a chair from another nearby table and dragged it over to just outside the main setup. Technically, I was still part of the group, but barely. A waiter approached, slightly confused, but I waved him off and ordered just a coffee. Yvonne and Claudia exchanged a quick glance, but still didn't say anything. Then it became clear why they'd invited me. They weren't that stupid. They weren't there to reconnect. They were there to show off. Throughout dinner, they went out of their way to flaunt their supposed wealth. I'll have the Wagyu, Yvonne said loudly, closing the menu dramatically. And the lobster, too. Oh, and drinks for everyone, he added with a cocky grin. It's a big night, after all. Claudia chimed in. Yes, we must indulge. Bring the best desserts, too. My Uncle Fernando added something about ordering more appetizers. The food and drinks kept coming and the total kept climbing. I remained silent, slowly sipping my coffee, watching everything with a calm expression. When all the food was gone, the glasses empty, and everyone was leaning back in their chairs, smug and full, the waiter came over and dropped the bill on the table. 2,185.50. He placed it right in front of me. Yvonne stretched and said, You're getting this, right, Alejandro? Claudia added with a snicker, Come on, that's pocket change for you. Nobody said anything. Every eye at the table was fixed on me, waiting for my reaction. I let the silence stretch a bit longer. Then, slowly, I picked up the bill, looking at it as if the number actually mattered. I let out a small, quiet, contained laugh. Yvonne narrowed his eyes. What's so funny? I leaned back in my chair, took another sip of my coffee, and smiled. Oh, I said calmly. You guys really don't know who's taking care of this bill tonight, do you? Then I placed the bill gently back on the table, right in front of Yvonne. Yvonne stared at the paper, blinking like he couldn't understand what was happening. I sat back, watching as confusion began to spread across the table like wildfire. Seriously? His tone shifted. His voice dropped, and a flicker of nervousness crept into his words. His probing faded a bit. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I kept sipping my coffee, watching his face go from confusion to realization, and then to something colder, angrier. Claudia caught on. She nudged Yvonne slightly and asked, her voice sweet, yet laced with sarcasm, "Your business is going great, isn't it, Alejandro? Surely a dinner like this isn't going to break the bank." There it was. The belief that I had to pay simply because I'd become successful. They acted like I owed them something. They didn't think about the years of hard work it took me to get where I was. They didn't think about all the times I had to struggle. They only saw what they could get from me. But this wasn't about the money. It was about how they treated me with indifference and still expected to benefit from the life I'd built. Yvonne spoke again, more insistent now, although his smile had become forced. "Come on, Alejandro, you can." He looked at the waiter, then back at me, like he was giving me one last chance to say yes. "Yeah, it's a high total, but you're fine, right? Just swipe the card, and we can end the night." My mother, Isabel, who'd been quiet until now, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. "Alejandro, honey," she said softly. "It's just dinner. It's family. You know how they are." Her voice trailed off like even she didn't believe what she'd just said. She'd always tried to keep the peace between everyone, to not take sides, but this time I saw it. She was tired. She also knew they were using me. She just didn't want to say it out loud. I set my coffee cup gently on the table. Then, I looked around at all the expectant faces watching me. My Uncle Fernando, his stomach pushing against the table, leaned forward. His voice was gruff. "Look, Alejandro, whatever this is, drop it. We all know you're doing well. Don't act like a child. Pay so we can leave." He wasn't asking. He was demanding. Cold. Harsh. Some nodded, some smirked. Some simply waited in silence, as if they knew I'd cave, that I'd pay to avoid the conflict. But I wasn't going to cave. Not after all this. Not after being the one they walked all over, the one they ignored or used when it suited them. And to be honest, seeing them squirm was almost amusing. They had no idea what was coming. I offered a small smile. Not big. Not loud. Just calm. A quiet smile. "Sure," I said firmly. "I'll cover the bill." A sigh of relief spread across the table. Some even patted me on the back, like I'd just saved the day. But I wasn't finished. Yvonne perked up. "See? Wasn't so bad," he said, giving me a mock bow. "Appreciate it, champ." I leaned forward, still smiling. "Actually," I said, "I've changed my mind. You guys can pay it. Good luck." The table went absolutely silent, as if someone had hit a mute button. Nobody moved. Not a word. Yvonne's face fell. His confidence vanished. He opened his mouth to retort, but I was already standing up. I grabbed my jacket. I wasn't leaving yet, but I wanted them to feel every second of this moment. "Just so you know," I said quietly, "if you don't want to deal with a bill this huge again, maybe you should be smarter about what you order next time." Yvonne's eyes were wide now, filled with surprise. He was no longer the arrogant cousin always giving me orders. His jaw was tense, and he was looking at the others at the table, clearly lost, unsure what to do. He thought I'd stay quiet and accept it, like always. But this time, I was the one in control. I walked away from the table, my pace slow, fully aware of what was about to happen because I'd already set it all up. The waiter lingered nearby, unsure who would take care of the payment. Then I heard Yvonne call out, "Hey." His voice had a sharp edge. "You can't just—" I cut him off. "I'll be over there," I said calmly, gesturing to the lounge sofas, slightly away from the main area. "Let me know when you've figured it out." I kept walking. The tension behind me was thick, like a heavy fog. They weren't used to this. They were used to piling the guilt on me and watching me cave. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. That entitled attitude. That belief that I owed them something. Tonight, they were going to learn something different. I settled into a plush chair and glanced back towards the dining area. Yvonne was standing, fidgeting, tugging at his collar, whispering rapidly to Claudia and my mother, Isabel. I couldn't hear everything from where I was, but I caught snippets. Alejandro's not paying? He'll cover it, right? Don't anger him. We need him to take care of it. Do we even have enough money? They were panicking, trying to figure out who would pay what, calculating how much they could scrape together without having to use their own money. They were starting to understand that I wasn't going to bail them out this time. Minutes passed. I scrolled through my phone nonchalantly, pretending not to care, but I kept glancing back at the table, just to catch those flashes of rising fear. The waiter hovered, probably throwing judgmental looks their way, waiting for someone to act. The longer it went on, the clearer it became. I wasn't budging. Finally, Yvonne approached me. He looked like he'd walked through fire. His face tense, a mixture of anger and regret. I stayed seated, taking my time before looking up at him. What's the problem? I asked calmly. He let out a heavy sigh, trying to maintain composure. Alejandro, this isn't funny. The bill is a lot higher than we thought. Can you just help us out this time? Come on, we're family. I let out a small laugh. I'm not kidding, Yvonne. You guys chose this meal. You ordered what you wanted without even asking if I was okay with it. And now you want me to pay for the wine, the food, everything. He shifted uncomfortably. He swallowed hard. We didn't think it would end like this. It's just dinner. Can't you just, help us out? I sat back and let his words hang in the air. Same story. Different night. No accountability. No apologies. They didn't care about me. Just the money they could get. Yvonne, I said finally, it's over. You're not children. Pay your own way. I'm not your ATM anymore. I don't care if we're related. That doesn't mean I owe you anything. His face hardened. The guilt disappeared. Now it was just anger. He narrowed his eyes. You're really going to leave the entire bill to us? After everything we've done for you, after all the support we gave you. I looked at him coldly. You mean all those times you expected me to pay for everything while you sat back like I owed you? That's not support, Yvonne. Behind him, Claudia and my mother, Isabel, remained watching, increasingly uneasy. They were seeing the situation slipping away from them. I could practically see Claudia's mind working rapidly, probably looking for some way to manipulate things. My mother, on the other hand, looked more nervous than ever. We can't just leave, Claudia blurted suddenly, her voice sharp and shaky. Are we really going to walk out on a 4,700 euro bill? That's insane. I raised an eyebrow. Nobody's running, Claudia. You all are staying and paying. I'm done pretending everything is okay. It doesn't matter if we're blood relatives. You've been taking advantage of me for too long and I'm done. Yvonne's face turned as red as a tomato, the frustration clearly mounting. You have to be kidding me, he scoffed. You're really going to leave us here like this? Now we're supposed to bear the brunt of it, Alejandro? And you're just walking away. I interrupted him. Did I choose all that food? Did I order the most expensive items on the menu? No. You made those decisions. Now face the consequences. Claudia was about to say something, but my mother stepped forward. Her voice trembled. Alejandro, please, this isn't the time. We're your family. Help us, just this once. You have the money. Her words hung in the air, heavy. Of course they knew I had money. That was the whole problem. They saw my success, but not the years of grinding it took to get there. They didn't see work. They saw a free ride. I stood up slowly and adjusted my jacket. I can't help Mom. Yvonne can. Claudia can. They all can. But I'm not cleaning up your mess this time. I looked at the waiter, who'd been standing nearby this whole time, clearly hearing everything. I gave him a small nod, my way of saying I was done. Then I turned and walked towards the exit without looking back. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I heard whispers behind me. I didn't stop. Then, quick footsteps and the click of heels followed. Claudia's voice reached me. Alejandro, wait. I didn't respond. My heart was beating calmly. I was completely serene. But in her voice, there was panic. She was trying to drag me back into the same mess I'd just escaped. Alejandro, she called again, her voice shaky. You can't just leave us like this. This is serious. I spun around, cutting her off. You think I don't know what serious is, Claudia? Do you really think I don't realize what you're trying to do? She stopped short, taken aback. Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. The wind rustled through the trees, and the tension filled the space between us. She searched for words, but I didn't let her speak. Not this time. You've been taking advantage of me for years, I said, my voice low but firm. Every time something happens, it's always Alejandro will fix it. No. It's never, hey, Alejandro, how are you? It's always about what I can give, and I'm sick of it. I watched her eyes flicker. For a second, guilt appeared, but she quickly replaced it with anger. You can't just abandon us like this, she snapped, her voice rising. We depend on you. You can't just leave your own family when things go wrong. I clenched my jaw, but kept my voice level. I'm not leaving my family, Claudia. I'm walking away from people who think they're entitled to everything I have. This isn't about love. It's about control. And I'm done letting you treat me like your backup plan. She froze, her face flushed, unsure what to say. But before she could speak again, I saw Yvonne and my mother, Isabel, rushing out of the restaurant. Yvonne was a mess, his shirt half untucked, his face panicked. My mother looked scared and guilty at the same time. Her eyes found me immediately. Alejandro, please, she said, her voice breaking. We don't know what to do. We can't pay. You're the only one who can help us. Her words reached me, but not in the way she hoped. A strange sense of calm washed over me as I watched them panic. They'd pushed me for years, always expecting me to give. And now, finally, they were seeing that everything in life has a price. Do you really think I'm going to fix this for you again? I said, my voice dropping lower. Do you really think this is just about money? No. This is about dignity. It's about you finally understanding that I worked incredibly hard for everything I have, and no, you don't have the right to keep taking advantage of me every time something doesn't go your way. Yvonne took a step towards me, his hands slightly raised, pleading. Alejandro, don't do this. We're your family. Try to understand. This isn't just about the money, it's about enough. I cut him off firmly. Yvonne, for you, it's always been about the money. From the moment you assumed I would pay, I stopped being your brother and became your personal ATM. Yvonne's face twisted. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if the words simply wouldn't come out. He seemed unable to believe that this was actually happening, that I was finally standing up for myself, that I wasn't going to cave. I looked at Isabel. She was terrified. Her eyes darted from me to the restaurant entrance, probably hoping I'd change my mind and go back to rescue them. But I wasn't going to do that. Not this time. You made this mess, I said, turning my back to them. Now you clean it up. I'm done. Before they could react, I opened my car door, sat down, and started the engine. The quiet hum of the engine filled the space between us. I glanced in the rearview mirror. They were still there, completely frozen. I didn't feel guilty. Not at all. They'd had their chance. More than one. As I drove away, I felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. For the first time, I wasn't the one being used. I wasn't the one paying for everyone else's mistakes. And as the restaurant grew smaller and smaller in my mirror, I knew I'd finally done what I should have done years ago. They'd pushed me to my limit. Now they had to face the consequences. A short while later, my phone started buzzing. I didn't answer. Let them call. Let them text. I wasn't responding anymore. But of course, they didn't stop. By the time I got home, I had 6 missed calls from Isabel, 4 from Yvonne, and a text from Claudia. Alejandro, we're so sorry. Please come back. We'll pay you back. Don't leave us like this. I stared at the screen for a moment, my fingers hovering over the reply button. I didn't type anything. They didn't understand how badly they'd messed up. I left my phone on the couch, went to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and sat down. There was silence in my apartment. The distant sound of cars passing by. The low hum of the refrigerator. And nothing else. That silence was better than all the drama I'd just escaped. After a few minutes, I started feeling something different. Peace. And it wasn't just because of the money. This wasn't about the 4,700 euros anymore. It was about saying no. It was about standing up for myself, something I'd never really done before. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text from Claudia, this time short and to the point. We can't pay the bill. It's 4,700 euros. Please help us. That was it. I stared at the message for a long time. It felt surreal. 4,700 euros. The same amount they'd expected me to pay without a second thought. I remembered how they'd acted like it was just another night out. They assumed I'd take care of it. I didn't feel a shred of guilt. I took another sip of my beer, leaned back, and waited for what I knew was coming. Sure enough, a few minutes later, my phone rang. It was Yvonne. Again. I answered. Alejandro, he said immediately, his voice tight and strained. Okay, we get it, you're mad, but we need help. We can't cover this. You're the only one who can fix it. His voice was laced with panic. I could feel it. It almost made me laugh, but I didn't. I told you already, I replied calmly. This is your mess. Fix it yourselves. But Alejandro, you don't understand, he said, his voice rising. This is family. Yvonne was practically shouting, the words tumbling out. Are you really going to abandon us like this? After everything we've been through together. Everything we've been through? I repeated, incredulous. You mean the countless times you treated me like a walking ATM, the constant demands always laced with guilt or pressure? That's what you call shared experience? He didn't answer right away. There was a beat of silence, then a long sigh. It wasn't what he meant to say, Alejandro. Come on, we weren't trying to take advantage. We just needed a little help. Help, I retorted, my tone sharpening. What I've been doing for years wasn't help, Yvonne. It was enabling you to stay immature. And you know what? You're not children anymore. If I keep stepping in, you'll never learn to face your own problems. He didn't say another word. The silence that followed felt thick. He didn't push it this time. I could tell the truth had landed, even if he didn't want to admit it. Take care, Yvonne, I said, my voice now firm and distant. You're definitely going to need it. Before he could respond, I hung up. The rest of the night was quiet. I finished my beer, put on something mindless on TV, and didn't give another thought to what was happening back at the restaurant. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. One last message from Isabel. Alejandro, please, if you're still hurt, we'll try to make things right. Just come back and pay the bill. I didn't reply. They'd have to figure it out without me. The next day, I heard what happened. They couldn't pay the bill and started calling their own friends for help. I even heard they had to take out a loan just to cover a portion of it. The most shocking part was that the restaurant manager apparently confronted them, told them to their faces that they were putting on a united front while actually burdening someone else with the bill, taking advantage and avoiding responsibility. It was an uncomfortable lesson for them. And I felt absolutely nothing. Not regret. Not guilt. Because the truth is, the best part wasn't seeing them panic. It wasn't even the satisfaction of walking away. It was taking back control. It was setting a boundary and not letting it be crossed. That moment was worth far more than that ridiculously expensive dinner they expected me to pay for. I wasn't their lifeline anymore. And after everything, I learned something important. Sometimes the most honest way to love your family is to stop rescuing them, especially when they never learn. Even if that means watching them fall. I'd done all I could. Now it was their turn to face the consequences.